it's easy for him. He's one of those players that makes the tough things look quite easy, and they're not.
But yeah, it does feel like at the moment there's an unwritten rule that you can't have Reece James and Cole Palmer fully fit at the same time.
Oh, no.
Like, it does feel like they never... Have they ever overlapped?
Trevor's been as consistent as anyone in this team this season, no doubt about it. At the moment, Chelsea's best number 9 is Joao Pedro, and I wouldn't have said that 3 months ago.
If anything, he should have just smashed it like that.
Oh my God,
Advert back in the day.
That would have been unbelievable.
Yeah.
Welcome to Inside Chelsea, the show for Chelsea fans by Chelsea fans. This show is sponsored by BetMGM. Download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org. Please gamble responsibly. I'm Olivia Buzaglo, and today I'm joined by former Chelsea defender Jason Cundy, and making his Inside Chelsea debut, Tobes is on the show. Hello.
Welcome.
Hi, guys.
This is a great time to come on, Tobes.
I know, we're winning games.
We are winning games. It is 4 Premier League wins in a row, 6 out of 8 wins under Liam Rosenior. And Jace, pretty simple away at Wolves on the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the scoreline, you could argue, maybe flattered us a little bit. 2 very soft, idiotic penalties that we dispatched. The third goal, I'm really pleased for Cole that he got not just got his hat-trick, but the fact that he did score an open play goal.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of chatter about not scoring this, not doing that, and he rocks up and scores 2 penalties. That, by the way, they still count penalties.
Why do people do this?
Because it's perceived as a tap-in, and they are definitely not. Right, Haaland over the weekend. Let me tell you now, that penalty, that was pressure. Right?
Pressure.
And Cole would have felt it because of all the noise that's going on around him at the moment. I'm delighted for him, but in all honesty, the result was kind of better than the performance, but I'll take it.
I mean, yeah, when you are... It was 3-0 at half-time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was 3-0 up at half-time. The game's pretty much done. It was a bit of a lacklustre second-half performance, especially when Wolves got their goal. And there was a little period in the second half where Wolves were on top, Tobes, and had they maybe have taken advantage, it would have been a different game, but it just felt like the game was done already from a Chelsea perspective.
Also, we had an eye on Leeds. Started to take players off. Obviously, we know Palmer hasn't even been fully fit, so he's never going to play a 90. It was just good to get that confidence up, like you said, especially grabbing a goal where it's like, that one's more credible than the penalty or whatever. So I was more happy with that, but it just sort of ended up drifting the game in terms of we conceded that goal. We should have got 4th. Probably should have had another penalty as well. So we should have had a hat-trick of penalties in the end. There was a bit of a kick, but I was happier with the result, like you said. It's just keep building the momentum, and eventually those wins hopefully turn into better performances with the wins.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying again.
The conceding.
A bit like a Palace, kind of reminded me a little bit of that towards the end of the game. 3-0 up against Palace, down to 10 men. We concede, and they did something similar against Wolves. And look, the result is always the most important thing. But I think, if we're going to be honest with ourselves here, the performances, I think there is definitely room for improvement.
I would agree, but I think when you look at the games that Liam Rosenior's had since he's come in, they were all, when you look at them on paper, winnable games. But we have always seen as a Chelsea fan that winnable games don't always mean wins. But the fact he's come in and won 4 out of 4 in the Premier League, Tobes, can't have asked for much more, regardless of performances. It's all about results, isn't it? And he knows that as a manager.
And that fixture list is chocker in terms of he hasn't had time on the training ground to even implement anything. The idea of seeing what his football is, whatever, that's non-existent at the moment. It's been a game every 3 days basically. We've had Champions League, Carling Cup, or Carabao rather, FA Cup, etc.
Yeah.
So you're not going to really see that, I don't think, at this point, and it's important just to keep it chugging along, keep putting those points on the board and just move on from there. And eventually, I think, after the whole game we have a week. I think we have an actual
we have
bit
a
of time
week,
on the training
where
ground.
that's when the playoffs, the Champions League playoffs
So
are.
I think it was just about getting through this period. It's not neat, especially after we were 1 win and 8.
Yeah, under Maresca,
and he's taken over. We won 4 and 4. We were dropping points in a lot of those games. Do we win away at Palace? I don't think so, the way we were playing before that. So it's just important that we build a bit of momentum.
Feels like he's winning the games that he should win.
Yeah,
right?
But that's always not the case, though.
No,
with
it's
Chelsea.
not. No, you're absolutely right. But then there's going to be a statement win somewhere. We wondered what it would be against Arsenal in the end. We'll talk about that in a second. Napoli away was probably 2-1 down, a side that had not been beaten home over a year.
And
I think but they're still waiting for that.
Yeah,
Arsenal away.
I loved about Napoli though was the subs at half-time, being proactive about, and he actively changed the game. Got it wrong maybe initially, but he's gone out of his way to go, right, Reece James at centre-back, we're going to change that, and Palmer's going to come on, and we did change the game. And I think even the improvement in Joao Pedro in particular, just out-and-out playing him as our number 9, him Him and Sanchez probably been our best performers so far under Rosenior. I mean, Sanchez has been kind of consistent throughout, really.
Sanchez has been really good.
Yeah, you can see how annoyed he was at the clean sheet, obviously going in that game and Palace. But I think Joao Pedro's been brilliant under him.
Yeah, we'll get into Joao Pedro because I think you're right. I think he's been one of the signings of the season. I think he's been brilliant. But I think we've got to talk in more depth about Cole Palmer. Because he is the first player ever in Premier League history to score 3 first-half hat-tricks. That's now 4 Premier League hat-tricks for Chelsea, Jace. Overtaken Super Frank, Didier Drogba, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. They all got 3. This is actually remarkable, and I actually think it's a little bit underrated that he's already scored 4 Chelsea hat-tricks. He's only been at the club for a couple of years.
Yeah, his goal-scoring record per appearance is pretty high. I think it's 1 in 2.
Yeah, it's 1 in 2.
You know, he's gone through a little bit of a difficult period on the back of being the best player of the Club World Cup, coming into this season, and then that injury. He hasn't quite got his season up and running, you know. And now he's coming up to the middle of Feb soon, and that next international squad is going to be picked in 3-4 weeks' time-ish, something like that. I feel for him because the performances have not been of the standard that he would expect of himself and that we expect as Chelsea fans, but there are mitigating circumstances. There is a caveat to that. The fact that he has carrying that injury, they are trying to nurse him through it. You know, there are games that he's on the bench where he'd rather him start, but this is a really crucial period for him, and I'm delighted that he got himself another hat-trick because even though they're 2 pens, they still count.
Well, that's what I mean. What's nice about it is being critical of a player in terms of it wasn't as good as his other hat-trick. You know what I mean?
Some players can't do that, can they, Tobes? They can't.
I mean, two of those 4 hat-tricks, he got 4.
Yeah.
Like, this is the calibre of player we're talking about in terms of he gets a hat-trick looking and you go, this one's not as good as those ones.
It's like at the start of the season, do you remember when he did that thing? He was like, they were like, can you do 3 goals for a hat-trick? And he said, what about 4? Yeah. And then he scored 4 twice.
Yeah, I mean, it was that Brighton one, I remember, where he got 4 and you felt at the end of the game, he could have walked away with 6 in that game. And he had it was like the passing he was putting together that we're not quite seeing there at the moment yet, but he was clinical at the weekend. Yeah. And that's what we need. You know, we need Cole Palmer firing if we want to do anything serious this season, really. Yeah,
and I think his celebration said a lot as well. It wasn't just it was that as well. And I think that is to do with all of the noise that's come out recently about him not being happy. We all knew it was rubbish. We all knew he's very happy at Chelsea. That just a little bit of frustration there. You could tell with the celebration, the way he responded as if to be like, what are you all talking about? And he came out after the game and basically said, you're all talking rubbish sometimes.
Yeah, I think, and we're going back to that, because on a personal level for him, you know, I know what it's like when you're injured and you can't get yourself back fit. It does, there's so much on your mind. And when he does come on, and he's expected, will be the Cole Palmer you were 18 months ago. Where is this Cole Palmer? It's hard just to flick a switch, especially when you come back from an injury, especially when you had so much football. And that football, by the way, is going to continue. You know, God willing, fingers crossed he does make it on the plane, because there's a lot of competition in there.
Has to make it.
But you do get the sense that this was a bit of a relief for him. And, you know, and that, like I'm saying, I'm so pleased that 3rd goal was open play, and it was actually a really well-worked goal.
Especially because, just to interrupt you, Jace, we were talking about this off air, about a very, very similar chance he had in the West Ham game. Producer Jamie, I apologise, because I thought it was before that.
I thought it was before
you
that
thought
as well.
But it was exactly the same chance that he put so high. I don't even know how we put it that high against West Ham, but he put it in the roof of the net against Wolves, and it was a good little finish, that.
I think the fact that he had 2 goals under his belt already in that game allows him to be a little bit more natural, didn't snatch at it. And that game against... There seems to be another one in my mind earlier.
Honestly, tell me about it.
I think there's another one.
It's a different goal, I swear.
But there isn't... I'm pretty sure... Anyway, there have been moments where he has snatched at things.
Yeah, and that's so unlike
and he puts them wide. But I think those 2 penalties maybe have just settled him.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He's so calm, collected. That's what we've known from him.
Ice cold.
Literally. Like, he run from goal, and you do think... I think there was a goal against Bournemouth last year where he just sort of pretending to shoot. The keeper dived. Dived out the way.
It was beautiful.
And that just epitomises him as a player. But it's, like you said, this season, maybe that injury frustration, there were moments he snatched it. I think even Brentford, when he scored, there was another chance he had where he would always bag that, and he didn't. So he had those moments, but it's just... If he can kind of get that confidence back, that's when you see the best of him, isn't it?
Yeah, and he also spoke after the game as well about he's never really been in this situation before. He's never been injured. He's never had a niggly injury where he's got to manage, and sometimes he's playing through the pain and sometimes he's not, Tobes. So it's new for him, and he's dealing with it. He's finding it a little bit more difficult and saying he's overthinking things when he gets onto the pitch, and he's like, oh, am I good enough to do that? And should I be doing that? But when we see Cole Palmer just being Cole Palmer, that's when you get the best out of him. And I think he sort of knows that now.
And something I think that really summed him up as a player in terms of that, like him overthinking seems wrong, where you remember that Conference League final where I think he said after the game he was bored of all the sideways and backwards?
Just give me the ball.
And he just tried stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what's been so good about him, especially that first year under Poch, where it's like he just tries things. You know, he's not overly thinking anything in terms of doubting whether he can do something or pull it off. Like he would just do it anyway. So to get in his own head, obviously, like I said, the injury is something new he's dealing with, so maybe that's why that's come about. Like, it's just something you have to shake off as he gets used to it, I suppose.
Is his injury a worry? Because I can't quite work out if he's playing through the pain, because he's quite clearly not fully fit, right? This isn't. I know he scored a hat trick and it was a brilliant hat trick, but is he fully fit? And how do we go about managing this, especially with the World Cup in the summer? And England need Cole Palmer on that plane.
Impossible to know. The fact that he was out for nearly 2 months is a long time. That is in a season. That's a long time. The fact that we actually managed without him is the credit of everyone connected at the club at that particular time, because we actually did manage to get ourselves through it. I couldn't envisage a world in which Cole Palmer didn't play and we would still actually win games, or certainly consistently. Yeah. But I think there is a concern. And, you know, like I said, players deal with things in different ways. Whenever a Chelsea player goes injured, we all worry. Reece, of course, particularly, has been out the side recently. You know, apparently it's not that bad. But, you know, managing him, Fofana, Lavia, you know, Colwell's got to come back.
You
know,
has anyone seen Lavia?
You know, but there's a lot of that. The medical team, there's a lot to manage and make sure they get it right. You would rather have a fit Cole Palmer at the last 6 weeks of the season than overplaying him now and him dipping out, coming back in. And I just think there's been a lot, and mentally for him, that's tough. You know, that's tough.
I'm a little bit surprised just hearing him say that stuff about him overthinking, because like we say, we're so used to just him being so blasé and just like, I'm out there playing football, and he does look like he's playing football alongside his mates in the park. That's how Cole Palmer plays football.
Easy for him. I think football actually, it's easy for him. He's one of those players that makes the tough things look quite easy, and they're not. And I think when you go through that, and now he's a seasoned pro at Chelsea, what's his third season?
Third season,
right.
Yeah.
So, you know, before at City, he wasn't a seasoned pro. He would dip in, come out, play games. But now there's been the expectation levels. Now you've reached that height. I think there's going to be a pressure from within for him to constantly produce this again, and he's been slightly restricted.
Yeah, I mean, he was top 10 Ballon d'Or on the back of what he did at the Club World Cup. Like, that's the echelon he belongs in. Those conversations, he'll know that, and he wants to deliver that. But yeah, it does feel like at the moment there's an unwritten rule that you can't have Reece James and Cole Palmer fully fit at the same time.
Oh, I know.
Like, it does feel like have they ever overlapped?
I don't know.
I don't actually know.
The Club World Cup must be the only.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players that haven't played together, by the way.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Lavia, you know.
Lavia hasn't played with anyone.
No, yeah, well, you know.
This is really frustrating, because I love Romeo Lavia.
Yeah, we all do.
Every time, and he's one of those players that, like, when he comes back and he plays for one game, he's absolutely unbelievable.
And it's always Liverpool.
It's always Liverpool.
It's always Liverpool.
Why is it always...
He just
will play at Anfield later on in the season. He absolutely will.
He'll sell someone on a half turn, and you'll think, oh, what a player. Imagine if we had him every week.
Just back to Cole. We've spoken so much on this pod, Jace, about trying to fit in all of these brilliant players if they are all fit, and talking Caicedo, Enzo, Reece, Esteval, Palmer. Where do you think we're going to see Cole play more when he does play? Because I don't think... Will he play against Leeds? Probably. Maybe rested against Hull is probably the way that Rosenior will go. But do you think he starts in the 10? Because I prefer Enzo in the 10. Do you think he starts out on the right so Enzo can play in the 10? How do you think
There are so many different permutations of what you've just asked me, right?
I mean, I've said just like three there and then.
Right, OK, so, I mean, Esteval, the thing is, Chelsea's best players, Reece, Moises Caicedo, Esteval, Cole Palmer,
Enzo,
and then maybe Enzo in there as well, and then Joao Pedro, right? Yeah. So I think if you consider those six, there is a way you can play all of those. It's quite top heavy. You know, you are
going attacking,
but you are playing all of them in their best positions. Reece at right back, Enzo alongside Moises. Then you've got Cole on down the 10. Joao Pedro up top, Esteban on the right, Pedro on the left. That to me, and then Chalobah comes in there, and then you have Cucurella. So so there is a way of doing it.
But that's thing is, against like Leeds, for example, at home,
I don't see
you can't play Enzo next to Caicedo. I think that's when you have to go Andre Santos if he's fit next to Caicedo. But then it means Enzo in the 10, then it means Palmer on the right, so no Esteval.
But then you
what
put
happens?
Esteval on the left. I don't know, it's so tough. You almost just have to shoehorn in those players because they are just so significantly our best ones. I think in that second half is the only time we had, against Napoli, was when we had Esteval on the right, Palmer in the 10, Enzo Fernandez, Joao Pedro and Reece James at right back. It was a pretty good second half.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the only time I can remember us seeing like that sort of side of the pitch. That right side's great, like when you list that. Especially because Palmer sort of, edges towards that side anyway.
I do like Palmer on the right. I do like him occupying that space. I just sometimes don't like it when he is the out-and-out winger, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He comes
I
inside.
think, yeah, his best, that
best work.
space.
He actually kind of needs gusto when he plays on the right. Just more because Reece can't quite do the running that he used
Never
to. Do you know
thought
what I
I'd
mean?
hear the day.
I know. Yeah.
He needs gusto.
But only when he's on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
When
what
he's
you mean,
outside,
I know
because
what
he
you
comes inside a lot. You need someone who's gonna. And I worry about Reece just if he keeps bombing on up and down.
Honestly,
you know what I mean?
when he misses games, I'm like, better not be injured.
We all are. And himself, he's probably, there's a lot to manage. But going back to the point that we made some time ago now, Reece trusts his body now. The way Reece is operating, the way he moves, the way he brings balls down, the way there's a trust. I just wonder whether Cole Palmer might be going through a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Not quite trusting his body yet, because he needs, really, you need half a dozen games minimum to get yourself every week. And that's been quite truncated for him.
What I would say about, so you were saying Gusto and Palmer down the right. What I really liked against Wolves was Enzo and Cucurella's link up down the left-hand side, which I never really thought I would see, but actually it worked really well.
Yeah, I thought Cucurella did really well because we had Neto on the right, especially in that first half. We didn't really have an out-and-out left winger as such.
No, we didn't.
And it was just like Cucurella just kept making those runs in behind. Obviously, that's how the third goal comes about. But yeah, he can do that. Like last season, I think he was one of our top scorers, particularly in the calendar year. There was a point where Cucurella just felt like he's scoring every week.
He was literally, I remember just watching Chelsea and he was like the furthest forward player for every game. I was thinking, what on earth are you doing there?
But I think Enzo's come into some good form as well
Really
under
good.
Rosenior, really. Like, it's been a big month for him, scored some really important goals. So, yeah. And he should have had a really nice assist for Neto in the second half.
Yeah, and my fantasy team took a hit because Enzo was then not on penalties. Imagine that. And I had Enzo Fernandez.
I captained
great.
Palmer.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
You captained Palmer.
Yeah.
As if.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have even thought to put him in.
Yeah, as soon as he's fit, I've got to have him in.
Nah, that's
I've got to have
so
faith.
good, by the way.
Yeah, I was happy
That
with
is
that.
so
Yeah.
good. Fair play.
Nice little 40-pointer.
Yeah, that's probably more than my team got as a whole, I think. Sorry, back to Enzo Fernandez. Because like Tobe says, I'm really enjoying this version of Enzo Fernandez. Yep. I think he operates better a little bit further forward. Do you feel like we're going to see that? Maybe because Palmer's not kind of fully fit, we're probably going to see that still a lot, but...
Yeah, he's showing his versatility, actually.
Yeah.
And he is one of our big game players. When he does play a little deeper and he's that 8 that's expected to get in there, not totally convinced he's got their legs to get about in the middle of the park, but I think predominantly when he is in a certain position, I think that he deals with it much better. Coming in with some big goals. I mean, really, really big goals. I mean, there was one the
West Ham one.
City. There's some
away,
big moments, and he is definitely a leader.
100% he's a leader.
And he's developed into that, and he has got that housery about him that we all love him, and I can only imagine.
Everyone hates it.
Oh, no, of course they
it's
do.
great.
But that's
I
when
love
you know
it.
it's good.
Yeah.
That's
We
when you know
need
it's
more
good.
of that, Chelsea.
Yeah.
We have gone soft.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
No.
Him and Cucurella are like,
Yes.
perfect.
And he's in our best 11. But
100%,
But how do you play him?
He's also reliable as well for... I can't even remember the last game he missed through injury. Or, every Chelsea manager that Enzo Fernandez has played under plays him every single game.
He played under a hernia, I think. Was it
Yeah,
on the
he
Poch,
did,
didn't he?
yeah.
He struggled
played
that
for a lot of
season.
pain barrier.
Yes, he did, and it kind of reflected in his performances. But we didn't know, did we?
It did, and it also kind of changed his game. Like when we first signed him, it did feel like, we've got like a Tony Kroos type kind of player, like pinging it about, sitting deep. And then he has become, it's a high bar to compare it to Lampard. But in terms of those late runs, like that West Ham goal, that's such a Lampard goal.
Such a Lampard
goal.
It is, yeah.
Like that run into the box, arrive on it. Like he's really come on leaps and bounds, like playing further forward, I think. But I kind of like that we're seeing more Santos because we're playing further forward as well. I do think, like you said, when Enzo plays a bit deeper, Cancelo gets left to do a lot.
Yeah.
Because Enzo can't do that running. But Santos can. Like, I feel like a lot more secure in general.
100%.
Don't get me wrong, if a corner comes, I'm panicking. Like, something might happen here. But in general, that midfield just feels pretty secure with all three of them in it.
Yeah, I hope he came off, didn't he, Andre Santos?
Yeah.
I don't know if Liam got asked about that, but we'll see.
I think he was okay.
Playing against Leeds on Tuesday, so hopefully they are both fixed. I think that would probably be the midfield you would go with for a game against Leeds. If we learn anything from Ellen Road, it's we're not taking that game lightly at all. And I'm not having Leeds do the double over us.
No, thank you.
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Another player that, you're saying Enzo's come on leaps and bounds in that number 10 role. Another player who I think's come on leaps and bounds is Trevor Chalobah. An absolute rock at the back. And he has been Chelsea's most consistent centre-back. It's now, without Levi Colwill, it's who plays next to Trev.
I would say so. Trevor's been outstanding. You know what you're going to get. You are so secure in what Trevor's going to give us. And I think he is probably one of the names on the team sheet that goes in there, and it is who plays alongside him in our best 11. Colwill, look, if you had him and Colwill together, I know Fofana, we mentioned injuries, managing minutes. He fits into that category as well.
Yeah.
But Trevor's been as consistent as anyone in this team this season, no doubt about that.
And like you said with Enzo, he's never present.
He's
always
never
every
injured.
week. A lot of our other centre-backs, it is like, can we use his Badia Shield there? I don't know. Like, he'll have the odd appearance, but then he'll be off injured or whatever. But, yeah, Trevor's been so consistent. And also, particularly with what happened, obviously, coming back from loan midway through last season. It's easy to not be putting it into that same degree.
It's just over a year ago he come back.
Yeah. They literally brought him back from a loan at Palace where he was playing.
And since then,
he's made it his own.
I mean, fair play to the boy. He's, mentally, that shows huge strength and huge belief. And he's justified in him starting. You can't argue with that. I think most Chelsea fans would say, number one centre-half this season, Trev.
Yeah, and I like, sometimes I think when Levi Colwill was obviously out, obviously back on the grass running, so that's obviously like really, really positive. I don't think we'll see him this season. I don't think there's any point in risking it. But when I see a lineup with Trev, I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah. Like I feel good about having him there. Do you think though he will be on the plane to the US in the summer?
It's going to be touch and go, I think.
Tommy Tuchel does love Chelsea though.
Yes, he does, and he's shown that.
That was his debut, wasn't it, when he scored against Palace under Tuchel?
Yes, it was.
Tommy Tuchel. Love him.
I think he's in the conversation.
He's definitely in the conversation.
100% in the conversation. Also, now is Harry Maguire. It's funny, you go back 3-4 weeks ago, no one was talking about Harry Maguire being in this. No one was talking about Lou Shaw being in the England squad. But those performances, and because of the experience Maguire's got, that might work against him.
Yeah.
Everyone fit? I mean, I'm going Konsa.
Gay.
Obviously, Mark Gay. I think that's probably our best two centre-back partnership for England.
I'd probably go John Stones if he was fit, but he's never really fit, is he?
Stones and Colwill's one of those ones where they probably won't be there because of the injuries, but they would have. But that does leave Chalobah a chance.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else outside of that.
I mean, it's literally Dan Burn.
I think that's probably it.
I think Trevor's a good chance.
I think he has a good chance, considering. I hope he is as well, because I feel like his performances have deserved it this season.
Like I said, he has been as consistent as anyone.
Yeah.
In terms of English centre-halves, same rules apply.
Yeah.
I know he's been consistent at Chelsea, but in the Premier League, he's been right up there for English. So he's like, Tuchel knows him, and there's a very strong chance that he'll be in there. I think we've got to look at the next squad.
Do you think if he's not in the next squad, he doesn't go?
It feels like it.
Yeah.
I think
Do you think that's the same for Cole?
Feels like it.
So you think if Cole's not in the March...
I think this is a big squad. I think this is a huge squad. I really do. I'm not saying completely, but I think if you're not in this next squad for March...
You'd be panicking
I think you'd probably feel a little bit like...
I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah, I think Cole is one of those players that maybe they would even make an exception for.
Yeah.
I just think there's just certain players, it's a bit like, let's say if Harry Kane was out of form or a bit injured at the moment, they would... I think Tuchel would be like, I can't not have him.
The difference is with Harry Kane, though, England don't have many backups to the level of Harry Kane. England have a lot of good options at number 10. I'm not sure any of them on their day are as good as Cole Palmer, to be perfectly honest. I think coming off the bench, I don't think there's anyone you'd want to bring off the bench other than Cole Palmer in a big final.
He's a game changer.
We saw at the Euros. Not all of them have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I mean...
Penalty shootouts as well.
Penalty shootouts. I'm not 100%... I personally would take him, even if his fitness is as it is now, I personally would take Cole Palmer because I think he's one of those players that can change a game like that. But I'm not sure if Tuchel looks at it like that. I think he thinks of the team more than anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, you do need players like Cole.
Especially at World Cups for moments. Like World Cups are about moments.
But you're right, that area in behind Kane there are a number of players there. Morgan Rogers maybe have just...
I think Morgan Rogers is the...
plateaued slightly, maybe?
Yeah, and also Eze, no. Phil Foden, no. Phil Foden, no. Jude Bellingham, I don't know how he's getting on at Real Madrid. I know he's been injured. He's done his hamstring now, hasn't he? But
it's kind of simply thinning out a little bit there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was. Like you said, we had a gluttony of options. And now I sort of think, well, one of them's not playing and one of them's injured. And
there's no one
really...
really
Rogers that plays week in, week out. Yeah. Consistently throughout this season, certainly. But
Tuchel does love him as well. Morgan Rogers.
Cole's got.
No, he's a good player. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Cole's got a good record in America. He'll take it.
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned Joao Pedro earlier. Let's talk about him in my fantasy team. Oh, there you go, Joao. He's been unbelievable, really, especially these last 5 or 6 games. I don't know. I just feel like we're seeing the best, not the best of Joao Pedro, but we're seeing maybe the best we've seen of him. Maybe Club World Cup and here. Yeah. I just think he's been really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the Napoli goals were something else, especially that equaliser. It's quite Drogba-esque, really, the way he's turned him and hit it left foot, proper put his foot through the ball, which is nice. It feels like a while since we've had a striker that does that. But I think it was that Arsenal game, I know we lost and we didn't, but it was watching him do what he did in that first half. You see a player there where, I think, you touched on it off air, but look, he's developed that. That's not something he had in his game.
Who, Liam?
Joao
Pedro's
Pedro, just under Rosenior, but just Joao Pedro as a player seems to be progressing to the point that now he can hold it up. He can hold off like strong centre-backs, 2 of the best in the league in Saliba and Gabriel. But I just think he's a really well-rounded player. Like, there's not really much he can't do. Obviously, he likes to come deep a lot more. Jackson would spin in, wouldn't he? But yeah, it just looks quality. It looks quality. The Club World Cup was like... I feel like was that first game, was it like Fluminense?
I think he joined, he literally just came straight from a beach in Brazil.
Yeah, he was doing kick-ups on the beach and then he was just banging them in, wasn't he? Yeah.
I think he's probably been the most improved under. I know it's not the sort of accolade you want.
Yeah, you don't want the most improved, Jace.
No, that does feel as well. But no, I genuinely feel that his game has developed since Liam's come in. Now, I don't know whether that's down to Liam, or whether it just coincides with the fact that Joao Pedro is learning how to play that role a bit better. His hold-up play is something that I felt didn't quite have, because that's a hard role. The number 9 up front on your own, the hold-up play, that's a big, tough job, especially against Arsenal. But his hold-up play now, and players are now trusting him. That ball will go in. When that ball goes in, sometimes when it bounces off, as a midfielder, like Frank used to do with Didier, right? That ball goes into Didier. He knows that ball's sticking. He knows he can time his run. I think there's an element of that going around as well. We look far more fluid. Yeah. And with Delap not quite having, even though it's part of his game, I think at the moment, Chelsea's best number 9 is Joao Pedro. And I wouldn't have said that 3 months ago. I wouldn't have said that he would be this player. So hats off, he has really developed.
Yeah, that hold-up play, I think not even Chelsea
And he runs
fans,
it behind as well, Liv.
Yeah, everyone was talking about how brilliant it was. And do you see him, Tobes, as a number 9 going forward, or do you see him? Because I spoke about this on the pod that he says when Cole plays, I want to be a number 9 because we've got a really good, they've got a really good understanding of each other. But I do see him, drop deep sometimes, and if he does drop deep and come into that 10, you have to have someone running in behind. Yeah. That has to happen, otherwise it just doesn't work. But it's quite a nice problem for Liam to have, whichever.
Yeah, I think he's an out-and-out number 9 for me.
Do you think?
Yeah, mate, I think when he does play the 10, I don't think he's creative enough. Like, I think Enzo and Palmer will actually make those chances for a striker. I don't think Joao Pedro really does that as much. He should trust his shooting more as well. I do think sometimes I'll be like, he'll try a turn or like spin. I think just have a shot. Because I think that was something we were lacking in periods where we've struggled in some of the games against teams that sit back a bit more is, we haven't had volume of shots. We haven't been shooting enough. And he's one of our players that actually can. So I do see him as that 9, especially he hasn't had the luxury of having a fully fit Cole Palmer working with him. Maybe he got a little glimpse of it in the PSG game, but he hasn't had that, where Palmer's creating for fun. And even when Esteval starts to grow in that role, I think, even when he does drop deep, you'll have players like that spinning in behind because Esteval seems relentless in terms of just driving forward, like going towards goal at all times.
He scores different types of goals as well, Joao Pedro. You talk about the Napoli first goal compared to the Napoli second goal, then compared to the goal that we scored, the first goal against West Ham. He has got those different types of finishes in him. He is more than capable. So developing into a fine player up top, one that we desperately need as well.
Talking of Liam's record since he's come in, I mentioned it at the top of the show. It's been 6 out of 8 wins 4 out of 4 in the Premier League. Obviously, the only couple of defeats came against Arsenal. Obviously, we haven't done a show since the second leg. I was at the game. I thought the approach was okay. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the approach. I personally would have liked to have seen us go for it a little bit sooner. But Palmer and Esteval didn't quite have the desired effect when they came on, and I think that was our problem. And the conceding I didn't mind because everyone was in the box, we were trying to score, but I just felt we could have gone for it a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight's brilliant. I totally agree with you. He was coming for some criticism about the way that we tactically approached the game. You fast forward 24 hours, and what we saw at Manchester City is exactly what we didn't want to see. 7 minutes in, City get the first goal in the game. And you and I done the show last week, Liv, we were saying, we have to score the first goal in this game. And the game needs to be alive at half-time. You cannot be going in there chasing 2 goals. And I agree, I think he got first half right. For first half to feel justified, I think you've then got to do more in the second half.
He didn't.
And he did what he did against West Ham, and there have been other games, Napoli, he changes the game and his subs have been really effective. I think he sat on that a bit too long. And I think if you're going to change the game, we're playing 5 at the back, you change to a 4 at the back at half-time, make those changes. That kind of felt the right time to do it. 15 minutes in the second half, it felt... It took us maybe too long to get into the game. Half-time was a natural break, and I think on reflection, if you were to ask him, I think looking back, he would have made those changes at half-time.
Did you think... So the approach I thought was fine. I thought we could have approached that game in a similar way with a 4 at the back. I don't necessarily think Chelsea needed to go 3 at the back in that game. Would you agree? Did you think 3 at the back was the right thing to do?
I think the first half said it probably was. Like, I don't think Arsenal had much of an answer for what we were trying to do. And like I said, it's capitalising on that second half. Like, I don't think it was too dissimilar to United end up going and winning at the Emirates because you had Dorgu and Cunha produce 2 moments of magic. Enzo had a few opportunities like that where space did open up. And we know Kepa, he's not going to save it if it's outside the box. So, get it on target. And we didn't. We didn't capitalise on that.
Should know that as well.
Don't get me wrong, you're banking on Dorgu's goal and Cunha's goal. They're brilliant goals. But it's going to be fine margins against Arsenal, or in any of those big games. Like, Ramirez isn't expected to chip Valdez, is he? Like, you're going to have to produce a moment in those top-level games.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best things to come out of that game, or maybe worst, should I say, was Liam Rosenior's touch. I just thought it was a little too chill. If you're going to try and do that, take your hands out your pockets, actually do it, or just leave it, mate. Just leave it.
Unfortunately for him, it was right place, wrong time, maybe.
Oh, God.
And it's popped out the sky.
Shinned it.
Yeah, I think, from what I've seen of Liam, he seems to kind of be able to look at himself and not take himself too seriously.
Yeah.
I think there's an element of that. We've all been there. I mean, I've seen seasoned pros do that. I used to do that weekly basis. Liv. All comes out the sky and it pop off my shins. It's just the way it happened. It was that kind of moment.
I also think people are kind of baying for it with him at the moment. Like, they want to be like, oh, look how bad that is. And you think, it's not really not a big deal, is it?
Yeah.
If anything, he should have just smashed it like that.
Oh my God,
advert back in the day.
That would have been unbelievable. Esteval came out afterwards. Liam said, the lads have played it back to me. We've had a laugh about it. Esteval said he can't believe that I was a professional footballer.
Okay. That's what I mean. There is an element I like about it where he's quite relaxed and doesn't take himself too seriously for his public persona.
Yeah.
Privately, I'm pretty sure there's a guy in there who's serious professional.
Yeah.
Don't do what he's done to get to this stage if you're not.
Yeah. Do you think, obviously, he's come out as well and said that, his kids have showed him all the memes, so he will have seen them all going around. Do you feel like, and like Jay says, I think he's taken it all very well and he can have a bit of a laugh. I do feel like, though, maybe he's got a bit more unnecessary stick than he maybe should have got, and it feels like he's a little bit of an easy target.
Yeah, I find it quite peculiar with him, especially because a lot of it, I think, has been pinned on the fact that, he's inexperienced. He had more managerial time under his belt than Maresca did when he was hired. Like, he's obviously a very smart, articulate bloke. Like, I've enjoyed listening to Liam Rosenior. I've enjoyed his interviews as well, even with, I think it was Joao Pedro after Napoli, where they were having a laugh, and then Palmer at the weekend. Yeah. You can see there's a good rapport he's even building with the players already early doors. And I'm not comparing him to Mourinho, that's very early doors, but Mourinho had a brilliant habit of taking the shift and focus away from what was going on with the team and away from that. And we were playing poorly before, prior to his arrival. We weren't getting good results. And it's suddenly all become about what Rosenior's doing on the sideline and what he's doing with this, and nothing on the players. And so, you know, shifted focus very well, and I think that probably does help take some pressure off them on the pitch.
I quite like the relationship he seems to have with the players, and I know he's a young guy, he's not old at all, but it feels like we say, he does have a good friendship almost with them, and they can have a bit of a laugh and a joke, and I feel like that's actually quite important.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be too pally with them because...
There's a line, isn't there, I suppose?
there is definitely a line. I think the age, we are moving away from, you know, you go back 20 years ago, there was, you know, Ancelotti's, the Jose Mourinho's, those really experienced, 25 years under your belt type of manager. I think a lot of clubs, it isn't just us, that are moving away from that now, going that younger head coach role. And I think the fact that we have such a young squad, I think he can identify, and the players can identify with him. They did feel a little bit under Maresca, a little bit of a head teacher kind of role. I suppose you need to be in charge. But I do like the relationship that he's got. But it's all about results, Liv, right? Yeah. The noise has quietened down about him being all these memes and all this sort of stuff, because results are going his way at the moment. And if that continues, that's fine. But there will be a bump in the road inevitably at some stage.
I mean, yeah, there absolutely will. I'm hoping it's not the next two games.
Me too, yeah.
So we've got obviously Leeds in the Premier League, then we've got Hull in the FA Cup, and then we've got Burnley in the Premier League. Then after that, I don't ever want to look at our fixture list because it is genuinely horrific. But let's start with this Leeds game, because they will have learned a lot, those players, about that game at Ellen Road, and that basically the one thing you cannot do against Leeds is not be up for it, because if you're not up for it, they will beat us.
Yeah, not for the first time we went to Ellen Road and didn't take it seriously. I remember Chalobah having an absolute stinker a couple of scenes. In the end, he got himself a red card, and that was the best thing that happened to him in that game, by the way. Seriously, it was that bad. But you're right, Leeds, Chelsea, Chelsea, Leeds. This goes back a long, long way, right? Any Chelsea fan of a similar vintage to me, and even older, knows what this game means. And we were pathetic that day.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
I can't roll this in glitter. We were pathetic. And learn from that. Leeds are up for it. The fans will be up for it. The floodlights are on. You know, it's one of those games. Leeds at home under floodlights. Oh, yes, please. I'll have some of that. Yeah, you've got to match them. If we don't match them, they can be a very tricky side. I know Arsenal rolled them over, but they can be a really stubborn team. And under Farke, the way they're playing now, he's changed that team from a 4 to a 5. He's got that system right. The players look really comfortable. So take this at your peril. You know, take them seriously. If you don't, this could be an embarrassing game for him.
I remember Reece James didn't play in that Leeds game.
We rested quite a few.
We rested, right? And that is exactly what... And I know, obviously, a different manager, right? It wasn't under Liam Rosenior, it was under Enzo Maresca. Yeah. But to me, you cannot be resting players for Leeds. No. We've got Hull, right, on Friday night. Yep. I want to win that. You want to get through to the next round of the FA Cup. But that is Hull away, right? You don't rest players for Leeds. Now, we don't know... Reece James, he's been saying, oh, no, it's just a knock, he's fine, but he has missed the last 2 games. So... if he's fit, have you got to play someone like Reece James that knows what it means to play against Leeds and will get... I'm not saying we need Reece James to get up for it, but these are the sorts of players that know what this rivalry is about to play in this game.
I think we're lucky that, in a way, that West Ham happened. Because West Ham, to me, that was Leeds 2.0.
Similar
that
game,
first half, we overly rotated and we just weren't up for it. We got blitzed and luckily we ended up coming back when we had those players on. But I think that was a nice... quick learning curve for Rosenior that you can't afford to do that in the Premier League. We can't give the breathing space to overly rotate and allow a result like that to happen. And like you said, the FA Cup, we want to win it, but you should, even with those rotation options, they should be proving themselves to go and beat Hull as well. So I think you have to go full strength.
There's a lot like that under Maresca. I remember Brentford away in the first half as well. Having to change things. He's almost trying to rescue the game back. Liam, I understand it because there's so many games. The first competition we actually went out of was last week against Arsenal. We played every single game that we're supposed to play. Yeah. Man United went out against Grimsby. They went out in the FA Cup against Brighton. This is a squad of players that have gone every single game so far. OK, we didn't quite get to the final. That's one game that we're ever going to play. We've got to make sure that these games... And there are some winnable games here. Leeds at home, I'll have us to beat them. Hull away, come on. Burnley at home, then it gets much tougher. Go into that Arsenal game, 3 wins out of 3, please.
And also, when you look at the Premier League games now, like we say, the fixture list gets really hard. Between now and the end of the season, or between after Burnley, so from Arsenal away, start of March, till the end of the season, our fixture list is pretty ridiculous in terms of the teams we play. The gap between Chelsea in 5th, obviously we've got a little 4-point gap between us and Liverpool in 6th, but also the gap to Villa. We've closed that massively.
We have,
They were like 10 points clear of us about 3 weeks ago. And now we've closed that back down to 4 points with Villa to come. I know it's a tough game away at Villa Park. But if we can, and especially these next two, Leeds and Burnley, get those 6 points, you never quite know. But to get up there and to maybe try and catch Villa, they're not safe.
No, not at all. I think, we win those two. In theory, it's not too much to say we should be beating Leeds at home, we should be beating Burnley at home. That's suddenly 6 wins in the Premier League in a row, which is a really solid run we're putting together. I think the reason why Villa built that buffer was that incredible run they went on, wasn't it? It was like 10 or 10
it was ridiculous, yes, they did, yeah.
But yeah, if we can keep building that momentum, and then, obviously you'll have your Arsenals, we've still got City to come.
City,
and
United, Newcastle, Spurs.
We have, but I remember last year we were kind of looking at we had a poor run and we ended up looking at it in the season and went, we're not getting that now. And you can put it together, and building these wins is just going to help build a bit of confidence and momentum in the squad, so they might feel like, no, we can challenge in these games. And there's been a lot of big games they have delivered in.
Yeah.
Albeit I know the Carabao Cup's very recent in memory, and obviously that was disappointing, but
we're still in that. You were in that for the whole tie, both ties.
But Napoli, Barca, Arsenal with 10 men, Liverpool, those were all top performances they've had this season. The squad's very capable of going toe-to-toe with any of these teams.
Yeah, I
also,
completely agree.
You look at that, the fixture list does become much tougher, but don't forget, they'll look at us and think the same thing.
Especially now,
They will look at us. Arsenal will go into this game. If we win those 2 games against Leeds and Burnley, right, God willing, then we go into this on a really, as you said, solid run, right? All of a sudden, we go there. That's a tricky game for Arsenal. It's a tricky game for Villa. We might be in a situation where
we could be within.
Catch Villa on that day. And then look, Newcastle at home, they've got their own issues right now. But listen, let's just take care of business for the next 2.
It could be Newcastle 3 times that week. I think I looked at that scheduling wise.
That's what we'd be if we have them home and away in the Champions League.
A lot of Newcastle, yeah.
Let's go rewind then back to the whole game, because obviously that's our next game after Leeds in the FA Cup. This is a game, Jace, that you would probably expect Liam Rosenior to rotate a little bit, and those players that have played a lot of football, like Joao Pedro, like Pedro Neto, you're probably more likely to see the likes of Liam Delap playing that game, aren't you?
Yeah, and also that week going into the Burnley game, it's going to be the first time that Liam Rosenior has had an opportunity to have the players without a midweek game. Yeah. So there will be a number of things going through his mind. One, I expect him to rotate the squad. If you can't rotate it against Hull away, when are you? When are you going to give some of these other players? But I think also you can afford to go with a bench that's strong, that you can change, because there's not the worry of having a midweek game that really, really matters. So I think you'll see a bit of a blend, but I think the bench will be strong. And if you do get yourself in a little bit of bother, you can probably lean on the bench to get us out of trouble. So obviously I've mentioned Liam Delap there, Tobes, but is there anyone out of our sort of fringe players-ish you would like to see come in against Hull and actually take the game by?
Josh
Achimpong.
Yeah, I love watching Josh Achimpong.
I don't know why he hasn't played more, though.
He came on against Wolves and he's doing Zidane roulettes. I think he's quality wherever he plays. I'd like to see him more at centre-back as well and developing there, because that's been one thing this season I feel like we haven't had enough of. I've enjoyed on Rosenior seeing Santos a lot more. So we have got some good squad options that we haven't really seen a lot of. Obviously, Hato's another one that obviously he's young. We'll see how he develops. But Josh for me is one that's so talented.
Yeah,
I've been so impressed. Every time I've watched this kid play,
that Liverpool game was it when he had him and Badiashile
up
started
against CSAT?
Yeah.
And
he was just
kept him quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, I get it, and Liam will. As I said, if you can't do this against Hull, when are you going to see the likes of Josh? Look, I expect him to start.
Yeah.
I do expect Josh to start. And like you said, rather than a right back, but he shows how versatile he is. See him play right back in the Conference League, see him play centre midfield. And what I love about Josh, he's mentioned this already, is how he strides into
midfield.
If they do go man for man, or there aren't many passing options, he is happy just to gallop in there. And then when he gets there, he's got the composure and the ability to find a pass, keep possession. Yeah, look, it's exciting about seeing what we see against Hull.
Yeah, I want to see more of Josh Achimpong. Now it's time for our Bet Builder with BetMGM. Remember, you can download the app or head to betmgm.co.uk. Right, we are doing a Bet Builder for Hull against Chelsea in the FA Cup. I'm going to kick things off with simple. A Chelsea win. I think even though the team will be a little bit rotated, I think I still back the boys to get it done. So I'm going to go Chelsea win. Jace?
Yeah, well, for the fact that you mentioned there's going to be rotation, we do like to concede a goal. There's one thing under Liam I would like to see more of, please. A clean sheets, but because there is going to be rotation, and there is something about going to a lower league team under the lights, FA Cup, that kind of concerns me a little bit. I'm going to go both teams to score.
Okay.
It just feels like this team isn't quite capable of keeping a clean sheet at the moment. That's why I've gone for both teams to score, but fingers crossed I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jason, you touched on that we like conceding a goal, but we like scoring a goal as well.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah?
We do.
So I'm going to go with over 2.5 goals for Chelsea. I fancy to score at least 3.
Perfect. The odds are on your screen now. Just before we finish then, shock, Chelsea have been linked to another player. Is there a player out there that Chelsea haven't been linked to? But the latest one is Julian Alvarez of Atletico Madrid. ESPN Argentina say Chelsea have held talks with his agent. £82 million is the rumoured price, 26 years old. Scored 20 and 67 in the Premier League at City. This season hasn't quite gone to plan for Atletico, but first season was really good. Is this the sort of player that Chelsea need, Jace?
Well, we often talk, don't we, about someone like off the peg kind of player. We don't sign those off the peg players, really. He kind of fits that narrative, that he fits that demographic that we need. I mean, we spoke about having a centre half, that season pro, 27, 28 years of age. That's not where we're going to go. But that is the type of player that I would like to see us sign more of.
Yeah.
Premier League ready.
I actually really like him as well.
You're not waiting for someone that doesn't feel how the Premier League's going to go. There's a lot to like about him. It's a lot of money though. That's you're not going to get much change out of 85 million. That's a lot of money.
You might get a lot of goals though.
Yeah, take that. Yeah.
I would like it as well. A bit like you said there. It would feel like they've changed the policy a little bit. It would feel like an opening of a door of, we could maybe more of these are expected. Now, maybe they're happy with, they've got their young group that they're growing, and now it's time to kind of start filling out that jigsaw puzzle as much as possible. But he's a top player, so. And another Argentine player.
Do we like Argentine, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like Argentine.
Yeah, Crespo's good up front.
Yeah, we like Enzo Fernandez as well. Just a quick one, obviously, on the options. If Julian Alvarez was to come in, obviously, Liam Delap, Joao Pedro, Nicholas Jackson is technically still a Chelsea player. Yeah. I really am interested to see what's going to happen. Are Bayern going to buy him at the end of the... It was quite a lot of money that Bayern were going to pay for him, so I don't really know how that's going to work. But then with those three, are they really going to add another striker to that, or do you think Jackson's a goner and it will be...
It feels like Jackson's going to go. It feels like that bridge has been burnt. I'm not sure that he will come back, even though it's a new manager.
Yeah.
Maybe, never say never, but it does feel a little bit like that. My guess would be that maybe Liam Delap goes on loan. That might be an option. Not selling him, but sending him out on loan again, because he does feel a bit raw. He's had one season in the Premier League. Maybe needs to go and play every week. At the moment, I feel for him because he's not been out consistently getting himself performances every single week.
Do you think that the way that Chelsea play doesn't necessarily suit him as much? Because at Ipswich, he was very good, back to goal, scored, 12 Premier League goals in his first season. But jumping from Ipswich to Chelsea just feels like there was maybe a middle step somewhere that he sort of missed. And maybe, do you think he could maybe drop back down into like a mid-table Premier League team for a little bit before we maybe see the best of him in a Chelsea shirt?
I think it could. He suited having space. Like, naturally, it's a better job to be doing that in an Ipswich team if there's less eyes on you. Maybe Frank comes up and we loan him to Coventry. It could be something. It could be something like that. I don't really know. It sounds like mid-table. Who would be like looking for a striker?
Palace.
Maybe Strand Larsen. They've paid a lot of money.
Oh yeah, they've just bought Strand Larsen, haven't they?
I don't think there'll be too many clubs. I think there'll be options for him.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think
obviously,
well.
it's going to be that second, third rung of teams, but I do sense that there is a bit of frustration from him as well. Maybe over trying that. Also, there's a naivety about his game that we all get frustrated for, picking up silly yellow cards, picking up silly reds. That he's got to take that out of his game. He's got to harness, because we want to see it. That physicality is absolutely crucial. It's part of who he is as a centre forward. But I'm pretty sure that there will be people and including his dad, by the way, can't keep giving these silly yellows away, because it will affect the way that you actually play. If you're suspended, that's going to take you out of the team.
And referees end up giving you yellows for things that aren't even yellows, because he'll just earn that when he'll be known for that. Yeah, but I
think there's still a player in there.
Definitely.
I would definitely not be selling him.
No.
I've seen too much at Ipswich, and there are signs. In fact, when he came off the bench at the weekend against Wolves, I actually thought he did really well. I thought he really gave us something a little bit different.
I even thought he was pretty unlucky with the injury he had in terms of when it happened. It was Fulham, I think he came off early, but like the West Ham game where we battered them 5-1, I thought he was really good in that as like a 2 with Joao Pedro, because Palmer, that was when he first got injured, wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't play in that game.
Yeah, there's definitely a player in Liam Delap, but it's just getting those minutes to actually develop in that role, isn't it? It's hard to do that with what Joao Pedro is doing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder what will happen with Liam Delap, and will Julian Alvarez be on his way to Stamford Bridge in the summer? Who knows? Just quickly before we go, we've got, I was about to say Liam Delap. We haven't got Liam Delap. We've got Leeds and we've got Hull. What happens in those two games, Jace?
Look, we should be winning both of those games. I'm not taking Leeds lightly. They are a side that have shown they can adapt in the Premier League, and that's credit to them. But come on, under the lights, Leeds, let's just take care of business. A couple of clear goals would be my guess.
I think 2-1. I think it'll be a feisty game.
It's too close for comfort, Tobes.
And but it's the Chelsea Leeds.
I know,
it's just not easy.
Yeah. And Hull? Hopefully go through
Oh,
the next round.
Little 3-1 or something.
Yeah, we'll take that. Right, that is it for another episode of Inside Chelsea, sponsored by BetMGM. Remember, you can download the app or visit betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org. We'll be back next Monday. Thank you very much to your company. Thank you so much, Jace and Tobes. A very good debut. We loved it. We will see you next week. Up the Chels.
Up the Chels.